Hello, hello, hello. All right, I'm here at my pool. I have my modem with me, my hotspot, and I'm hoping that I can get some clear, problem-free reception. There's not much of a breeze here. As I say that, it picks up a little bit, but hopefully there won't be any issues with audio. Oh my gosh. So I'm here. I swam a little bit this morning and got a little exercise for my shoulder, just a little bit, not overdoing it, trying to go easy and let my body kind of heal itself. Um, and because I'm still kind of sliding easily back into life here and getting adjusted, and it's still pretty slow in town, I thought, well, I'll go ahead and do yet another video. This is like 4 in a row now, I think, which is highly unusual for me. But I guess it's a good time to do it, and I've got some stuff to say. As I mentioned, people have been asking me about this whole this dating situation down here, and share. Okay, so now there's a pause, and so it's gonna be like a Godzilla movie where it's like, and then I say what I have to say. So bear with me, please. I'm trying, people. I don't know why this is happening. So here's what I have to say. I'm obviously no expert on this. I've been here now a year and a half, a little bit more. And so I've been able to make some observations. I know some people in town. I know some foreigners. I know some local people. And I've been able to get a sense of kind of how things work, both by asking questions directly and also just by, as I said, observing. And kind of, sometimes you put two and two together. Yeah, so my personal experience is what I will share with you from those categories. So I often do have a few little notes, or if I can remember, just some basic stuff. I'm not going to have this be super drawn out, I don't think. The first thing is that what's called, hold up, I'm trying to adjust my chair, Sankey Panky. I'll sit up a little bit more. It's called Sankey Panky, and basically that means it's you're paying for sex. It's straight up just pay for play, so to speak. And that's often when people come from out of town, from other countries. Mainly they're coming here on vacation to enjoy, everything that there is to enjoy here, the weather, the beauty, the people, the food, the music, all that, right? And when I say enjoy the people, I do mean enjoy the people, because I think it's pretty well known, Dominican people are beautiful, many of them. I mean, even the average Dominican person is good looking. They take good looking up several notches. So maybe average anywhere else is like, average here is pretty good. And it's a poor country, and so there are a lot of good-looking people without a lot of resources who don't have a lot of education, and so that's naturally something that they can trade on, is their looks and their bodies, their sexuality. As I mentioned yesterday, it's a very sensual place because, nature is, as you can see behind me, it's just beautiful everywhere. You don't have to be like at a resort or at a beautiful home or at the perfect beach spot. Just as you're just moving around, it's just beautiful. The climate is sultry. It's warm. People aren't covered all up. Everyone's kind of brown. It's funny because people talk about, we can tell who's new in town because they're real white. The rest of us are kind of, soaked into the sun has soaked into our skin. We're a little bit bronzed. So anyway, so people come from elsewhere. They come. There's certain towns like Sosua and Cabarete. If you look at a map of the Dominican Republic, on the north side, there's those towns, Sosua, Cabarete in particular, Puerto Plata, that's all kind of in the same region. Those are known to be, especially Sosua and Cabarete, are known to be like hotspots for the sex trade. And I've been up there a couple times. And when I was there, the first time, I was aghast because I actually saw like crusty old dudes. I mean, they weren't necessarily crusty, but they were clearly much older and not necessarily attractive. With in one case, a really young, pretty woman, and they were out at dinner on the beach, and I think I was with some friends also dining, but I was like stuck, like staring at these people because it was the first time I'd seen this happen up close, right? And then another time I was at the hotel where we were staying, sitting by the pool, and I saw, again, a white guy walk kind of across the other side of the pool with this pretty young black girl, and they disappeared into some room back there, whatever, and not much longer, maybe 30 minutes or so, 40 minutes later, out they came. Now, what really happened? I don't know. Maybe it was part of the sex trade. Maybe he was getting a Spanish lesson, I don't know. But anyway, it's definitely happening up there. It happens everywhere. And obviously, to be sure, it doesn't happen just in this country. It's happening all over the world. The whole sex trafficking in the U.S. is a big, big problem now. And so, and I say now, I mean, this is like since mankind, I guess, began. It's centuries old, right? Young girls have always been sort of appreciated in a certain way for their beauty, but not always appreciated in a really clean way, I'll say. You know what I mean? It's like there's a nasty kind of seedy, tawdry quality to it. And so that happens. So that's what they call Sankey Panky. And when I say men with women, it's not only that way. Certainly women come here and pay to get, the cute young boy toy. I've seen that. I was in a restaurant one day and I saw a woman come in, not especially attractive, appeared to be of, some European descent with a young guy. And, of course she paid for lunch. I think she may have given him the money and he went and he paid for it and whatever, off they went. So that's very common. But that's just one dynamic. So there's also what I'm referring to as arrangements. And those are longer term engagements where there still may be a transaction involved. For example, I know of a French woman, an older French woman, I think she's around 60-ish, in her 60s. And she comes here periodically, a few times a year, and stays for a while, maybe a month, maybe a few weeks, maybe 2 months, whatever. She comes for a while on a regular basis. And she met a man boy here. I think he's now like 26. And they got married. And she pays for an apartment. And while she's here, that's where they stay. And while she's not here, that's where he stays. And it's a nice place. It's not like super, it's not all modern and like marble and granite. It's not that kind of apartment, but it's a nice place, right? It's a nice place to, be fine for like a weekend or something. And but anyway, but that's his place. And I understand he's been to France a couple of times and is probably going to go live there. And, once he gets there, who knows what will happen, right? I mean, again, that's what I call an arrangement. And she knows what's up. I'm sure, unless she's completely blinded and fooling herself, she has to know what's up. Because this is a good-looking guy, by the way. And those kinds of things happen. There are people who come here, there's a lot of Italians living here, a lot of French living here. And those, in particular, the stories I hear the most often of French and Italians who marry Dominicans, either sex, right? And then, the woman will go live in Italy or the man will go somewhere or what have you. And sometimes they stay together and sometimes it works out. And other times, it's a ticket out. And hey, can't really blame them. If there's not a lot of opportunity here and people are willing to offer them, a marriage license, which is oftentimes what is needed to get a visa if it's not gotten some other way. It's not easy to get a visa out of here. Like, for example, Dominicans just going on vacation to wherever they want to in the world, that doesn't happen. They have to have a visa. They have to have permission from the country to go do that. And the resources, and most Dominicans don't have anywhere near that kind of resource to buy a plane ticket and then where they're going to stay and how they're going to eat and all that. So marriage is a very viable option for a lot of people. So there's that, those arrangements. There are the ubiquitous hookups. Those things happen all the time. People come here on vacation. I saw I wouldn't say they were necessarily spring breaking, but like some young college types who were here. This is not a big spring break type town the way that we Americans tend to think of spring break, where it's like woohoo and party and, the water slide down into the thing. Nah, thank God it's not like that. That's more Punta Cana. Punta Cana is really touristy. It's like just a row of resorts. This is not like that. There's like one resort hotel over this side, one resort hotel over on that side, and they're out of the main town and they're quiet. They're not big party places. So this is more kind of like you come and it's a more discreet kind of a laid back environment, which I happen to love. But still hookups occur. People come on vacation and they just have a good time. And there's not necessarily money involved though. They're just, they go out dancing, they meet at a place where they're dancing, or they're at a restaurant. And I'm sure there's some Dominicans who, they know where the expats, where the gringos will go. And, well, expat's not really the right word, because expat is if you're living in a foreign country long term, right? If you've left your country, you're an expatriate. Anyway, but the people come here and, they might go to a certain bar. They might want to go to like a Dominican spot as opposed to where all the foreigners go. And they dance a few times. And there's people, they're called animators, right, who go to some of these clubs. And these are local folks, Dominicans and Haitians, who are hired for the purpose of almost like giving dance lessons. It's not really an official lesson, but it's like, if you feel shy, you don't really know how to dance bachata or salsa or something, or merengue, but you like the music and you just kind of want to get up and do your thing, there'll be, if you're a woman, a man will come and ask you to dance, and he'll dance with you. It's all very nice, and he'll lead you back to your seat. And that's it, and if, obviously sometimes it leads to like a conversation, and from there, whatever can happen. But mainly they're there to just host the crowd, make sure that they have a good time, right? It's good for business. So that's what that's about. Keeps people buying drinks, keeps people staying in the club and dancing. And so, like I said, those are hookups. Whether you're older, younger, whatever, that's also very common. A lot of those guys will be sort of entertaining more than one woman at a time. Maybe, okay, we know that this one's coming in for a week, that one's leaving, someone's here from Argentina, from wherever. I mean, that's all just part of the deal here. Then, of course, there's like the longer term, more kind of what we think of as like a relationship, a real relationship. There's that. Those things do happen. As I said before, there's some people who actually marry Dominicans, and sometimes it's real. Sometimes, you come and you develop a relationship through whatever means, and, people fall in love, and whether they stay here or they live here part-time or they leave, I mean, there's all those kinds of options. There are people I know some people right now who are involved in relationships with Dominicans, and, it can be kind of dicey up and down because, gosh, there's so many variables, but it's like you're just getting two people from two very different worlds. Usually, I'm talking about Dominicans, like the local population out in what they call the campo, the countryside, not the cities, right? Those people are like going to work just like you and I go to work at banks and companies and like white collar type stuff. I mean, they're working class people there too, of course, supporting all that. But that's where like the rich Dominicans live, is Santo Domingo and Santiago, and I'm not really talking about them so much. That's probably more of just like an affair. You're having an affair if you're involved with a married person there. But in the countryside, mostly it's, the less educated people who are just living off of whatever they can live off of. They have whatever little job, maybe they have a shop, maybe they do like touring, like showing you. Sorry, another pause. I don't know why it's happening. And those relationships can be tricky because there's just all the dynamics of the cultural differences. And, and sometimes, like, for example, a guy might have a girlfriend who's here periodically. Like maybe she's one of those who comes, back and forth a few times a year. But then he meets someone who lives here, and they have a relationship, like a long-standing kind of an ongoing relationship. Well, then when the other girl comes to town, it's a little dicey, right? There's those things. So in terms of how the perception of Dominican people as far as relationships, what I have heard about Dominican women is that they are, men will be happy to hear, they love sex. They're very open and willing to explore sexually. I mean, obviously, this is generalizing. I can't speak for every woman because how do I know? But what I've heard is that they're open and they enjoy sex. They're not ashamed. They don't have certain hang-ups like a lot of other people do. Sex is for pleasure. Sex is to be enjoyed. It's not like there's no shame around it in that kind of way, which is great, right? If you're going to do it, might as well enjoy it. Good lovers definitely take care of their men, not just in bed, but if you're in a relationship, they're like catering for you, they're cooking for you, and they're making sure you're comfortable and all that kind of stuff. They're very jealous, very jealous. Be careful, they want to mess around because they'll cut you. I don't know if they'll cut you, but I'm saying that could be a problem. Yeah, they're beautiful, right? Many of them have very beautiful, shapely bodies, beautiful faces. They come in all different hues, from very, very fair to very, very dark. Curly hair, kind of straightish hair, not necessarily bone straight hair, although they do straighten their hair. They like to look pretty. They will definitely make themselves up. I mean, obviously some are more natural, just like every other woman. There's some who are more kind of natural and don't necessarily put in a lot of work, but many of them really enjoy beauty. They enjoy looking good, and they accentuate their curves. Curves here are celebrated. It's not like someplace else where like, oh, my butt's too big. Not at all. I don't know if there's any such thing as a too big butt here. And men appreciate it fully. So women will wear clothes that absolutely flatter them and display their curves. And did a video a while back about Semana Santa, which is Holy Week before Easter, and culo, which is the slang word for ass here, because a lot of women have their butts hanging out, right? And so some people would say, it's distasteful and it's too much. It's just a matter of what you're comfortable with, what your taste is. I just came from Istanbul, and there's so many women, the Muslim women, are completely covered up. I mean, I saw women on the regular who would like lift the veil and like eat the food and put it down, all of that, and like you only see this little bit, and they might have glasses on. So it was like, the invisible woman walking around just covered in black, mind you. So, and there's a whole nother conversation on that and why that happens, and the fact that they feel like they're more free that way because they're not being judged on their looks and their bodies and whether their hair looks good that day, or and it's really what they reveal ultimately is for their man if they're in a relationship. Dominican women are the very much opposite of that. They're very free and open, and they like to look sexy. They like to put on lipstick and false eyelashes and whatever, have their hair looking good. So there's that. So if you're a man, you're going to be in Candyland here, just like you're going to be in Brazil or many other places. If you like pretty brown women, this is a good place to come check them out. That being said, understood again that many women are in relationships. They may have one child or children by one man or multiple men. They may be involved in a relationship. They may have an ex-husband. I mean, it runs the gamut. As for the men, same thing, right? There's a lot of good-looking men. Some of them are in relationships, some are divorced, some are, kind of straddling some things. They're also known to be great lovers and aim to please. I've known women here who've had Dominican love. Well, I can tell you one story about a woman I know. There were a couple women I know, older foreign women, who came here, and at one point, I guess, one of the women said, one of her friends, again, another foreign woman friend, said, "What, you've been here a certain number of months and you haven't had sex with a Dominican man yet? Like, what's wrong with you?" And so there was like this aim to kind of her up. And one woman actually did get set up for a special occasion, and the man was married, or is married, I guess, but it was, it's like, hey, but he's going to make some money for this, right? And so they ended up staying together like for the weekend, spent the weekend together, and it was, I think she liked it so much, it's now maybe a regular thing, or I don't know if it's ongoing still, but at least for a while, that became like her squeeze, even though it was like, okay, he's going to do this with you, maybe stay for a little while, and then he's got to go home to his family and all that. So there's all kinds of things that happen here. When I would say, I think it's fair to say that when you're with a Dominican man, like when they're spending time with you, you're going to feel like loved and cherished. And, they use I mentioned this before, lots of sweet talk, lots of words like, it's equivalent of, oh, honey, darling, angel, baby, my beautiful woman, my queen, all the time. I mean, just people speak to each other, not even in a love situation, but just friends and just people on the street. Ay, mi amor, no, espérame, I love, sweetheart, just hold on. Your taxi driver might say, okay, mi amor, I'll be right there, that kind of thing. So it's not always about like romance, but they are absolutely inclined to speak in those kinds of tones. Obviously, people can get upset and not use that language and just be more like kind of gruff and basic. But usually when they're just like in a kind of happy, natural state, that's how it's going to be. Both ways. Men and women will say those things. What else can I tell you? I think that's a good overview. So as I said before, if you want to have a fling, it's not hard to do. If you want to find, a longer standing love, I think you can do that too. Certainly if you're a man coming and you have some money, I've seen some men up in the Sosua area, there's some other people on YouTube and other folks I happen to know who are closer to retirement, not necessarily old, but they've stepped out of the U.S. and they've got some means a little bit. You don't have to have that much here to have a nice life. And so you can get a girl and who will, again, take care of you and keep your house nice and cook for you and give you some good loving and, and you take care of her and probably her family too, but it's not going to cost you an arm and a leg. You're not going to have to whine her and dine her and do all this stuff for a long time to be able to get to that point. They like sex, and so you're probably going to have sex quickly. If you're open to it, you can have sex right away. And so it's different from the U.S. where people are like, okay, well, I got to, the 30-day rule or the 90 days or what, he's got to take me on this many dates or, whatever it is. Those kinds of things don't really apply in this situation. It's just whatever everybody's comfortable with, really. Yeah, so if you come down, and if you're a woman with money, you can certainly come and do the same thing. You can have a man, and if you're comfortable as a woman sort of taking care of a man in that way, then it's no problem. If you don't like that, then I don't know, I think you're going to either end up, if you want to date somebody, like have a regular person. I know a woman, so I will say that there are people who are comfortable offering money and there are people who just don't. and they still can have boyfriends. But their boyfriends may not be able to like take them to dinners and stuff, and so they may have a different type of relationship. It's possible to get a man with more money. There are not a lot of them that I've seen, or that I've heard of, who can do the kind of taking around and whining and dining type thing. Again, those are more often in the capital, where most of the opportunities are. A lot of the businesses and things are. The professional people are there. If you go online, for example, I have some people who like, go online, because that's where all the professionals are. And yeah, you'll see like doctor, lawyer, Indian chief, all that kind of stuff is online. I'm sorry, you can go online and access those people, and they're typically in the capital or what have you. But just in terms of like bumping into someone, that's anywhere, and it's a matter of what you're open to. A lot of times people will date younger men and women, because I think by the time they're older, they're pretty much settled with someone usually. I wouldn't say all the time, but I think younger is most common. It doesn't have to be like your child's age, right? Like a 20-something-year-old. There's just variations. But so those are the themes. I'm giving you general themes. There's always exceptions, but really I think the exceptions are absolutely exceptions. It's not the rule. So, ta-da! More information on love and dating in the DR. Fall in love all you want to. It's easy, right? Because it feels good. It just, everything lends itself to like feeling lovely and feeling sexy and feeling sensual. But if you're gonna fall in love with somebody here, just be careful. Just be mindful that you're probably getting into more of a complicated situation than you really are bargaining for. And so my recommendation is enjoy yourself, be careful, but keep your wits about you. Okay? So come on down, find some love, and I'll see you when you do. Bye. Have a great day. Love you.